Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, we are back. Saturday afternoon, Films and Stuff, new episode, television roundup time. Where are we?
That's right. So we have finished the first season of Obi-Wan, which we did an emergency episode on because it was so
Cue the siren.
Dramatic.
Cue the siren.
And then the second thing was, I don't even know what that was. That wasn't even a siren, but that's fine.
Sad siren.
That was maybe just me crying.
Yeah.
That's just me crying.
That was the level of siren that episode needed, actually. The siren you deserved.
Then we saw Ms. Marvel.
Yep.
Which I don't have much to say about it in the sense that it so far seems like a typical Marvel series in terms of its plot and in terms of cultural, let's say, impact. I have to say they have done an excellent job with it.
I agree. Very well done. Very respectful. Very tasteful. Overall, I think it's exceptionally well-produced show, but since it's focused more on a high school girl and her trials and tribulations, I have to say it's not really my passion, but I have to say the entire thing is very well done.
Yeah. And we'll certainly, I expect and hope to have more to say about the show when it gets to,
let's see the season finale.
6. I just think that there's no point in us breaking down or analyzing every episode in detail now for a couple of reasons. One, we may not be the target demographic, and two,
it's pretty straightforward.
Also not a comic.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Very, very by the numbers.
Yeah.
So even though I haven't read the comics, even though I really don't know much about Ms. Marvel and Kamala Khan, honestly, it's not throwing any left hooks that I'm not seeing coming.
Yeah, same.
So, which is, again, not a problem because, and given the quality of some of the TV shows we've seen by Marvel, I would say this is on the higher end.
I agree.
Only because some of them have been really miserable. So
I think it's a compliment that we don't really have anything to pick on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure there are things, but because, and I don't mean to sound indifferent, but frankly speaking, it's a new character. It's someone I never grew up reading about. So
there's no historical. There's really not a lot to say. Like it's inconsistent.
I have no passion for the character one way or another.
Nope.
And that doesn't sound good, but in reality, it's not. It's not a bad thing.
It's absolutely,
it just is, which is fine.
It's absolutely, in my book, it's a solid 3. Absolutely worth watching. Don't go out of your way, subscribe only. But if you watch it, you will not be unhappy, disappointed, or feel like you didn't get value for money.
Yeah, you won't be, exactly. You won't feel like you've wasted your time.
True. Now,
let's get to the meat.
Let's get to the meat. Or the meat substitute if you're vegan.
If you're vegan. So beyond meat, let's talk about, so we've got 2 shows that we're both strongly in favor of.
Oddly enough, we're going to be talking about The Boys, which has a lot of meat in this episode.
So let's do it. Let's talk about The Boys. So we had episode 6, I believe, Hero-gasm.
Yeah, Hero-gasm.
Which, I mean, great title.
Did not disappoint.
And it most certainly did not disappoint. And we also get to see Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy in real action for the first time.
Yeah.
Right? So I was quite pleased with that.
Is Soldier Boy to you a good guy or a bad guy?
So I think none of these guys are good guys, right? And they're, with the exception perhaps of Starlight, I don't think any of them are actually good guys. And even remember, Maeve was kind of like an anti-hero in the first season before she turned out to be a relatively good or decent person in the second season onwards.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I think
the Deep has a good heart. I mean, the Deep has a good heart. Yeah. I have a soft spot for the Deep.
I don't know if he's got a good heart, but I think what he is a little bit, he's the most vulnerable, and he's also the most perhaps naive.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a good guy, right? Because especially in season 1, you saw him sexually assault people. So it's not exactly the best of behaviors from him. So in that sense, I think the introduction and the use of Soldier Boy by Butcher is really more about, I know he's not a good guy. Mother's Milk clearly thinks he's a bad guy. But I know that he's the only one who can help me actually destroy Homelander.
I have to say, I was kind of expecting a little bit more to the story from Mother's Milk, you know?
In what way?
I mean, we obviously knew that someone in his family, you know, died or was collateral damage because of Soldier Boy. Yeah. But I just kind of thought like the whole story was just not like really a great story. You know, I thought it would be like, I mean, basically what he said was like, some kids are causing trouble. Soldier Boy came to kind of try to stop them and threw something. And his poor father, you know, who came to the window, or grandfather who came to the window to see what's going on was accidentally killed, right?
Yeah.
It didn't really seem, I mean, again, the story didn't really make it seem as though Soldier Boy was really like grossly negligent, if we're going to use like prosecutorial terms, but it didn't seem like he was reckless. It didn't seem like he was like intentionally, you know, trying to hurt someone. It just seemed like it was an accident where Soldier Boy was actually trying to stop some people from doing something wrong. So I was kind of expecting more of like an A-Train type story where, you know, Soldier Boy was on this big, you know, drug-induced bender. He was doing this, he was doing that. He was trying to escape or go unnoticed, and someone died, you know. But I thought it was a little bit of a letdown for how long this has gone on, where you didn't really know MM's issue. It wasn't as strong as Huey's, for example.
Yeah, maybe the motivation. Well, so that's the thing, is maybe the motivation isn't the most compelling. But I think in terms of the
rage is high.
The rage is high, and I think in terms of all the non-soups, right? And maybe not even just all the non-soups, but just in general, I think he's clearly the standout guy in terms of the only one with a moral compass, right? And that's, I think, that's the same, I would say, for Starlight in terms of the supers, or in terms of
so Starlight, yes, but I have to say, I mean, Butcher. We always knew that Butcher was crazy, right? And Huey, I think Huey is a good balance. I think also, to be honest, is a little bit naive, right? Like he's really going into battle with a smoke grenade and a handgun. And I mean, almost watching him prepare, it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like none of that's going to work, right? Someone even said, hey, Soldier Boy's bulletproof, right? Like the whole thing is just kind of like, okay, we understand you've got this rage. Yes, you've got a moral compass. But to be honest, a moral compass without ever doing something about it is, his plan just seems so simplistic, right? So it's hard to have a lot of sympathy for him when he's just kind of bringing the same knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, I think so. That's the thing that I think that's probably the battle, or the internal battle he's going to face at some point.
Yeah.
Because that, for example, that's the line that Butcher has decided is okay for him to cross, and that Huey has decided it's okay for him to cross, right? Yeah. And I think the motivations that get them to cross that line is slightly different. I think for Huey, it's because he's always seen himself as a coward his whole life. He's always seen himself as someone who's a victim of bullying, and this is a chance for him to level the playing field, as it were.
Yeah. And he's got, Huey, I think, also has a legitimate, I mean, Butcher is just out for cold-blooded revenge, right? And he has some power trip issues. Huey, yes, who's always felt like a little bit bullied, but I also think that he also has a legitimate point where he needs to not only protect himself, but also protect his girlfriend, who's obviously been threatened and is in a very vulnerable position. I can't say that he's actually wrong. And he did save her in this episode, right?
Well, did he? We don't know. We'll never know, because that's what he thought he was doing, right? Is by taking her out of that fight, or that, and the fight hadn't even started. So we'll never know. And obviously we'll come up to that. And so this is them, you know, they've broken up. Whether they get back together or not, who knows?
Yeah.
But I just think that what's going to happen is, what my feeling is that at some point, Homelander's got to go. In terms of the narrative, I think that what's going to happen is, and we get to see a bit glimpses of that because, so first of all, internally, we saw that wonderful scene where he's talking to himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? Where you see he's really thinking about
his vulnerabilities.
He's vulnerable to himself. He's doubting himself. He's really starting to think, oh my God, is this something I can handle or not handle?
Yeah.
And then, you see the maybe evil side of him say, we're going to cut out that last piece of humanity in you, like a cancer that it is.
Yeah.
And I think that eventually what's going to happen, because if he succeeds in doing that, I think eventually what will happen is that everyone is going to turn on Homelander, and that's how because this is not a sustainable, like, for lack of a better phrase, business model. At some point, he's going to burn every bridge. And it's one thing to burn your bridge with people like Huey or with people like Mother's Milk, but it's another to burn your bridge with all the superheroes around you. It's not going to last. Something's going to happen. Something's going to give, and I think Homelander is going to go. So I think what's going to happen is if and when he goes, I think what we're seeing now is that Huey is going to, I think Huey's going to see this as mission accomplished, banners up, I'm done. I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. I don't need to have that temporary V. I don't need any of that stuff anymore. Yeah. Whereas I think Butcher, because we saw that rage in him in this episode especially, I think Butcher goes full on evil, and then everyone turns on Butcher as the main bad guy.
Yeah. I see all of that. I have to say, I still feel like there's a redemptive arc somewhere for Homelander. I feel like at some point he does something that redeems him a little bit. He may end up dying, but he may end up dying kind of like kamikaze style, where he takes out, a power-hungry Butcher, or he takes out a wildly unstable Soldier Boy. But I feel like Homelander eventually, kind of gets his, like a hero's departure. And then it seems like probably Starlight, Annie January now, is probably going to, be the real leader of Vought. And that means obviously either Victoria Newman dies.
She's got to go too at some point.
Or she, who doesn't seem to actually be bad, maybe she just kind of, goes along and follows Starlight. It's not clear.
I don't know. I get the feeling that she's gone full evil as well, because she's kind of teamed up with Homelander. That's my feeling. I have no idea. And I also think, I can't help but feel that the guys who are, writing the show, and maybe the guys who wrote the comic, I don't know how close this is to the comics, I have the feeling that there's something going on with Black Noir as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. We saw his unmasked face in Nicaragua. We saw his unmasked face, and then we've never seen him unmasked again. I can't help but feel like there's some kind of bait and switch going on.
He's maybe not Black Noir.
Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's a mole for Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe he's the inside man who's kind of leaking things. Similar to what we saw with Queen Maeve in the first episode, because she was the one who was sneaking out intel and temporary V for Butcher. I don't know, but there has to be more to this storyline.
What do you think is the storyline of Frenchie and Kimiko?
Oh, I love it. To be honest, it's my favorite relationship of the group. At first, I thought it was going to be Annie and Huey. I actually think it's Frenchie and Kimiko.
But where is this? I mean, at one point, it seemed like she was going to be the ultimate weapon, and she was going to be critical to kind of like solving this mess, right? They seem to be. She has lost her superpowers, right?
That's what I get. Yeah, she's not healing anymore.
In that last scene, like that guy beat her up, like severely,
quite brutally. Yeah,
and she still seemed to. I mean, for a female who doesn't have any superpowers. I mean, I kind of thought like beat to the point of near death. And for her to kind of come reverse that, break the guy's wrist and then like stab him to death. I thought that was a very dramatic reversal, but she still doesn't seem to have her powers. But I'm just confused where that storyline goes. And it's, I don't know if it's that maybe a very sweet relationship, but like, where is it going anymore? Like she was supposed to be the secret weapon. Now she doesn't have any powers. Are they just two people?
I don't know.
What do we need that?
Now.
What do we need that for anymore?
I think I again, you're right. So a couple episodes ago, I talked about how it looked like they had like a brother-sister loving relationship.
Yeah.
And now I think that's
now they're full on dating.
That to, I'm no longer powered. I want to shed myself of this identity as the weapon. I don't want to be a killer anymore. Yeah. And, Frenchie has always been soft on her and he's always protected her and done his best, even though she never really needed it. And now I think it's gotten to a point where it will be, it almost seems like they're setting them up that one or both of them are going to die. Or that one of them will die and then the other one will go on like a suicide mission to avenge the other's death. It seems like that because this show doesn't, I don't see anyone in this show getting a happy ending, right? This doesn't seem like everyone gets their walk into the sunset moment because the show has been a parody and a satire, and it's also been really brutal and at times very practical and realistic. I just don't see the two of them walking away hand in hand to Marseille and retiring and living a quiet life in the countryside.
Yeah. What about if we had odds? What do you think are the odds that Ashley is either a soup or Ashley takes temporary V and gets soup-like powers?
I don't know. I don't think she's a soup. If she's going to get into powers, it's because of temporary V, and I think she's going to. And I think what's going to happen is she's going to accidentally kill herself while taking temporary V in a stupid way.
Possible.
Because I don't like
she's
her for whatever reason.
She's been surprisingly a good character, not a likable character.
Yeah, exactly.
But a character,
You've seen her grow as being someone who was being pushed over all over season 2 and 1, and now she's kind of asserted herself.
Yeah.
I don't like her, and again, that's a good thing. That means that she's actually had an impact on me.
Yeah.
So
she's not intended to be likable at all.
Oh, and speaking of Ashley, what do you think happens to A-Train? Last we saw, he basically killed the other guy who what's his face? The guy who beat up his brother and broke his brother's spine. Yeah. And we saw it looks like he's having a heart attack on the middle of the road somewhere.
I mean, to be honest, I don't feel like anything different is going to happen to A-Train. I mean, he made a very heartfelt apology to Huey, and Huey correctly just kind of like punched him, right? A-Train seems to be, if there's going to be a team of good guys, it's probably going to be Starlight, a reformed A-Train, a means well Deep, and I love watching Deep as the technologist. So funny. I loved watching him be the technologist, and possibly Maeve and possibly Victoria Newman. That would be kind of like the good guys if there are going to be good guys. As you mentioned, Deep's got a bad history, but again, he kind of means well. He seems to have been reformed a little bit. Same with A-Train.
So I'm on the fence with you about the Deep, but I'm certainly not on the fence with Victoria Newman. I think she's switched over to the dark side. I think she's a lost cause at this point. Right, to the point where she threatens to blow up Starlight's head and causes her to bleed from
the nosebleed.
Yeah,
the nosebleed.
So
what a subtle. In a show where nothing is subtle, I thought that was very, very...
What an excellent way to flex your powers without blowing someone up. That was actually really good. Yeah. The second subtle thing that I thought was actually funny as well was when Mother's Milk throws the tear gas grenade at Soldier Boy, which was filled with halotene, and he picks it up and smokes it like a cigar. And I was just, and he's like, oh yeah, lovely. And that's, I think that's the moment where Mother's Milk has to realize that even though Butcher's gone a little off the deep end, he's not theoretically wrong about how to handle these guys.
He's not wrong. I mean, there's a difference between the moral compass and getting the job done, and those two things
being practical. Exactly.
In this perfect world, if you could get the job done for being a good person, that's the way that a storybook should go, right? But I think Mother's Milk is learning, and Huey learned it, right? I mean, Huey learned it the hard way. Huey said, I tried to do everything right.
Yep.
I joined the Department of Superhero Affairs to do things the right way, through a policy, through a procedure. And I found that it is just rigged against me. It will never change this way. He's like, Butcher is a bad guy, but his idea isn't wrong. It's the only way. And I have to say, Starlight, I think, sees it differently than Huey because she does have some powers. And Huey, I don't think that he has an issue that he's not as powerful as his girlfriend. I think he has an issue that he's like, what else can I do? Either I have to just sit around and hope someone else can fix the problem, or I can at least try to contribute myself. Yeah. And when they were holding Homelander down, I thought that was a very powerful scene, right? Because Butcher said, Huey, get out of here. And that was an easy opportunity for Huey to say, yeah, like, okay, like I'm going to protect myself, or they don't need me anymore. And Huey's like, look, you guys need me. He's really powerful. It takes 3 people to hold him down. And even then they couldn't. I thought that said a lot about Huey and his commitment to the cause. And, he understood the bigger picture, really. Yeah.
So I think there are two lines in the sand, right? And so everyone agrees that the system is broken. Starlight sees that the system is broken and tries to reform it from within as a soup, right? And she obviously is unable to do that because she becomes the co-captain. She wants to instigate change. But Homelander doesn't just resist, he actively prevents that change from happening every step of the way. Mm-hmm. Huey says, okay, I'm going to never cross that first line, which is I'm going to break the system. Huey says, I'm going to cross that first line because I want to break the system, but I'm only going to do it legally. So I'm going to join this Department of Superhero Affairs or whatever it's called. I'm going to work with them. The moment he realizes that even that system is corrupt, he goes, okay, I'm with Team Butcher. I'm going to cross that line and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I think Butcher has passed the second line, and which is, I think, the point of no return, which is to say he's now gotten addicted to this temporary V or whatever it is. And I don't think he's going to be able to stop after Homelander goes down. Or again, and as we said, maybe what's going to happen is that Soldier Boy and Homelander are going to... Soldier Boy is going to, go nuclear as he has in the last couple episodes. Homelander will have to make a temporary alliance with Butcher for it. They're going to take him down, and maybe that's how, as you predicted, maybe that's how Homelander goes down, is he kicks Butcher out of the way in the last second, and the both of them destroy themselves.
Can I make a suggestion? Because I think that I thought Huey was going to approach it this way, as follows, and he's not. So maybe MM will. Everyone is worried about this arms race, right? I've got to be as powerful as this guy so that I can battle them. Why aren't they thinking about this the other way? Instead of taking temporary V to become as powerful, and then it's just going to be a stalemate. Why isn't anyone saying, why don't we create something
that takes away that power?
Yeah, like what's a V upside down? Whatever. Yeah?
Like an alpha or an A.
Yeah, and something that takes away power, and they give it to, right?
I think you're on the money 100%.
I'm on the money 100%.
Because we've already seen it happen to one character, Kimiko. And I think what's going to happen is that Kimiko lost her powers when what's-his-face, Soldier Boy, exploded that radiation laser beam onto her. And I think that's potentially what happens to Homelander as well.
Homelander becomes just another
dude, and that's how he maybe go. So when I say he's taken out, I don't mean he's dead. I mean that he's either dead or his powers get taken away from him. And right now, Homelander's identity is 100% tied to his powers.
Yeah.
If you take away his powers, you take away everything that he knows and believes.
What do you think of like a season finale or series finale where Butcher defeats Homelander in front of Homelander's kid, and Homelander's kid is like, you know what? Now I'm a bad guy. I vow revenge against Homelander and everyone else who took out my dad.
Maybe, but I just don't see that kid coming back into play. Maybe, and it would be interesting. It certainly would allow for the infusion of like a younger play into this.
Then the next season is Victoria Newman's kid and Homelander's kid.
Yeah,
the new Maeve and Homelander, right?
So it's something that I don't see that happening. What I think this season, the way this season ends, and maybe this is the arc of this season, maybe it's the arc in the next couple seasons. I don't know how many seasons there are going to be in this, but I think at the end of either this season or next, we see the full turn where Butcher is the main bad guy. I think he goes power hungry, and you either see hints of it at the end of this and he goes on a rampage towards next season. But frankly speaking, he has spent this entire season burning his bridges with everyone on his team except for Huey. And I think something's going to happen with Homelander and maybe Starlight. Or not Homelander, sorry, with Butcher and maybe Starlight. That'll it'll be the straw that snaps Huey's back. Where he's like, okay, I'm out. And I think it'll be everybody versus Butcher.
All that works, but all that is also premised on, Butcher must have a limited supply of V. I mean, he doesn't have 365 vials, does he? Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, from his perspective, he's vulnerable every day. He's not on V. And It seems like the come down is very, very powerful with him. So, I mean, if I'm Homelander, like Homelander can do Captain America style, I can do this all day long, right? Yep. He could just come after him and I can wait him out. There's not unlimited amounts of V. I mean, they don't really explain this, like how this is produced. I would expect that there would be like some very significant control or access issues over this. Yeah,
but we kind of saw how it was produced in the first season, right? When we learned about how these superheroes were created or these soups were created. Yeah. And don't count out Edgar, right? With Giancarlo Esposito. Yeah. Maybe he approaches Homelander and says, listen, maybe he approaches Butcher. I keep confusing the two. And says, listen, Homelander's a problem for you. He's a problem for me. I can get you access to not temporary V, but like full-time V. Are you in or out? Right? Maybe he also strikes a Faustian deal with the devil. There's a lot to be seen here. Or, God knows, maybe Butcher ends up having to take a blood transfusion. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is season 3. Do we have any idea? Have they announced, is there going to be a season 4, 5, 6? Any idea where this is going?
At the moment, I don't know. And if they don't do a season 4, it would be a shocker because this is a really popular show. It's doing incredibly well, and I'm not tired of it. No. I'm absolutely not. I'm very keen on the story. I don't, the gore here and there is fine. It's not something that I particularly look forward to. But in terms of the story, I'm captivated 100%.
Same. I'm in.
So I don't see them unnecessarily stopping it now. Especially because the story is still not complete. So, and we've only got, I think, 4 more episodes left this season. That's a lot of potential story to tell in only 4 hours.
I'm in. I wish I could watch it. I would binge it if I could. It's frustrating that I'm only able to watch one a week, but that's Amazon.
Yeah.
All right, so we both give it a 5. We both give it a subscribe, right?
Totally. And now a word from our friends at Movies and Podcorn.
Going to the movies with your friends is great, but talking about the movie on the way home, even better. Here at Movies and Podcorn, we watch movies and talk about them as if we were just leaving the theater. From our favorite scenes to which characters would win the Squid Game, we break films down in the most fun way possible. Follow us on Twitter at The Circuitverse and check out all of our great content on sports and pop culture at thecircuitverse.com. Go check out Movies and Podcorn and make sure to have some popcorn.
That's the boys.
The boys.
Now, we saved what I consider the best for last.
Yeah.
My soulmate, my one true love.
Margo?
For all mankind. Yeah? I love this show. I've got so much to say. Where do you want to start on storylines? Do you want to start with Danny going to Helios? Do you want to start with Aaron as president? Do you want to start with Ed, Alita? How about Margo?
Oh man, so let's save the worst for last, right?
Okay.
So simple thing is that Bill Clinton has lost the presidential election.
So subtle. Aaron is president. No drama.
I did
very
not see
undramatic.
I did not see that coming for Ellen because it's hot. I get how they're doing it because we saw a within season time jump of 2 years, which I thought was well done.
Yeah.
Right? So from 92, they've gone down to 94 automatically already. So that was nice. But that also implies that there's still at least 2 more years of presidency for Ellen. And maybe this is where things get spicy because now Ellen is the ex-astronaut president. And so there's got to be some kind of like international espionage play or crisis, right? Maybe the USSR's or Russia, their ship explodes, or the NASA ship explodes, or the Helios ship explodes, and there has to be like collaboration between either 2 teams or all 3 teams. Something's going to happen, and Ellen's going to play a much more vital part of that because Ellen is too good a character and too good of an actor to kind of just waft away as the president and that's it. She's only in 1 or 2 scenes in this episode. I really want to have her have a stronger part in this.
I do as well, but I mean, I don't know. I don't see this becoming an Oval Office White House show unless, again, they skip. Now they really can't skip forward because I was thinking they could skip forward and be like, she was
defeated. She got recruited by Helios because obviously she didn't want to go back into government.
I think we're stuck with it, but I think we see very, very little of her. Just like this episode, we just had that phone call. I think there's going to be very little of Ellen. Not that they're writing her out, but they've elevated her to a role where she just doesn't have a lot of day-to-day involvement. Even if this is espionage, again, there's not going to be so many meetings or calls with her. It's going to be...
Well, let's take it one step further. What if she gets involved because Margo gets found out for helping the Soviets?
Oh, you're saying she's implicated and impeached.
No. Or she has to navigate that for Margo. Or maybe she has to negotiate the release of Sergei and kind of he wants to defect or something. There's still potential. There's definitely still potential for her to be involved in a more political aspect. Again, I'm with you. It's not my thing.
Should we dive into Margo?
We may as well.
So a few things. The build-up I thought was exceptional, where they always had the elevator doors. Yeah. The elevator doors open and close. It said 1983, 1984, 1991. It really gave you a lot of context that this was not a hot and heavy one-night stand, whiskey infused,
It took 8 years for them just to touch hands.
Yes. Right? It seemed very genuine and pure, and probably the way that it seemed to be a believable way, right?
Yeah.
Then it got a little bit weird where they just started to kiss. And then he's like, I can't go through with this. I'm too stressed out. I thought strategically that was really stupid, that he should have kind of waited until after. And then said, oh, I've got so much on my mind. And, she would have been so vulnerable, and she would have kind of.
It seems so cheesy the way he did it, right?
The way he did it was
amateur hour.
Yeah, it seemed very weird. And then I thought that Margot's reaction was actually very good, though, which was like, whoa, wait a second, dude. We've given each other like guidance and support for the better of space, but we've always agreed kind of that we're not going to talk about like sensitive stuff. I can't do that. And then, of course, the thugs come in and rough everybody up, and basically they say, look, we're gonna kill Sergei if you don't give us all these nuclear engine secrets. What's your take on that?
I think that that entire setup I found to be really clumsy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what they meant to do, because these guys are space agency experts. They're not spies, so they're amateur hour. And if that's a brilliant double bluff, right?
Yeah.
But it just came off as very artificial. It came off as very clumsy. The way he kind of said like, "Oh, I'm too stressed out to have sex with you because I'm worried about this engine component or whatever it was." And then the KGB or FSB or whatever the equivalent is comes into the room and shows these pictures, which are supposed to be implicative, or supposed to implicate her negatively, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know how those pictures theoretically implicate anyone.
Yeah.
Because if you're not sharing that information anyway, so what? Who cares who she's hugging or sleeping with? At the end of the day, what's important is whether you've implicated someone or not. Whether you've actually given the information or not. And then they threaten to kill the guy. That I think is more plausible, right? Which is to say, you obviously have a crush on him. He obviously has a crush on you. If you don't work with us, we're going to kill him. I don't know. And then we flash forward, literally right after that, we flash forward the 2 years, and we see that all 3 ships have launched. And the question, and it kind of zooms in on Margot's face, so we don't know if she's given them the information or not.
So
but it must have, right?
So where I kind of saw this going was, I mean, we knew it was a matter of time until they were going to have some type of romantic dalliance, right? I thought when he went into her room and he's like, hey, can I use your bathroom? First, I thought it was weird that she said, yeah, it's over there. Like, obviously, they're both in the same hotel. He should know where the bathroom is. It's not that complicated. But anyway, I digress. I thought he was going to put like some type of like listening device in her.
Right.
Like, not in her bathroom, but like in her toiletry bag, or find like her eyeglass case or something. And it was going to be
because she's living in the office, right?
I thought it was going to be something like that. And then obviously fast forward to, when it was the threat to kill him, when the guy said kind of think about it for the day, then I was half thinking like, do you think Margot's going to kill herself? Do you think that she's going to, turn herself in? I was thinking like a lot of different kind of alternatives for the split second. But like you said, when she watched the launch, then I was kind of like, do you think she gave them bad plans? The engine's going to explode? Like kind of like the Space Shuttle Challenger type situation. But then it seemed to launch okay. So the implication is she gave away the secrets.
Yes.
I don't think you can draw any other conclusion from that fact pattern. She committed espionage. She may have been blackmailed, but she committed espionage. She gave away the nuclear secrets. She is now a criminal.
Much to your delight, right?
Do you think she will defect?
So this is where I think we have the most potential for Ellen Waverly to come in.
Yeah.
because there's going to be a lot of backlash. It's got to come out. Otherwise, why bother?
Why
bother showing this?
I agree. Somehow it has to come out. No, it's not clear. I have no idea how, but somehow it's got to come out. And I'm kind of wondering if she's going to defect and he says, hey, we can be together. I sincerely love you. You can be the head of the space program here. Although it seems kind of scary. If you don't deliver, you die. But you can come over to Russia. We'll do this together. And she defects.
What? Maybe the NASA ship has a problem with its engine and the Russians are the one who give them the solution. And they're like, wait a minute. How do you have the solution for a nuclear engine that you're not supposed to know about? And that's how it comes out.
Dude, that's whoa. Can we do slow clap for Pete? That's so good. You better bring this same energy to our script. You better bring this. That is right? Exceptional. That is exceptional. Wait a second. How are you helping us with our problem? You're using a totally different technology, right?
Yeah. How do you know what's wrong with our ship?
Lucky guess. Lucky guess.
Exactly. And then all eyes automatically turn on to Margo and they're like, what the heck is going on?
I want Margo to burn. I really want Margo to burn because Margo was supposed to be she was supposed to be the good one, the hardworking person. She was kind of crapped on earlier in her career. She worked her way up. She's been so dedicated, but she's stripped herself. I mean, maybe this is a social commentary, but she's stripped herself of anything that could anchor her to life. She didn't have any friends. She doesn't seem like she's got any family. She doesn't have any romantic involvement. And that's why she's made herself vulnerable to this. She's just got she's not even that nice in the office. I've said it more than once that she just operates that office. She got rid of Molly. She has no oversight at all, right? When people talk about a shadow government, right? Or the deep state. That's what they mean. Someone who has all this power and authority unchecked,
like a tyrant almost.
Yeah. And look what she's done. She's gotten herself into a mess where she's committed espionage. She's gotten rid of Molly. I don't think it was probably the right idea to keep Ed, but Ed is gone. Danny's gone. I mean, she's kind of created a system where people are, even like Bill Strausser, right? Alita stays, which she did a good job on Alita, but Bill goes, right? And he says hey, I just want to be appreciated, exactly. That's kind of what he says. She couldn't even give him a proper goodbye. Thanks.
Exactly.
Try to convince him to stay. That's her job, is to also create an environment where people feel valued, rewarded, and she's just failed. She's just really failed. And that's why I'm so negative on Margo. I mean,
yep. No, I'm with you now. I am now with you. At first, I had a lot of sympathy for her, but I think what's interesting is she's done a backwards turn, because at the end during season 1, when she's working for that other guy who turned out to be a collaborator with the Nazis, or no, not he worked on the nuclear project, Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
Remember, there was that scene where she was basically told off about, you need to be a better person. People, you're clearly the best of us and people don't like you. And so you see her kind of learn, and she was trying to be friendly with people. Yeah. All that seems to have gone away. All that learning seems to have disappeared.
Yeah. She's isolated herself. She's really isolated herself. Super frustrating. What do you think of Helios? I mean, Helios is kind of a euphemism for the Teslas,
SpaceX,
the Amazons, the
Blue Origin. Yeah, exactly. It's an amalgamation of SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic, all in one.
The one thing I don't think has come out yet is, are we supposed to like Helios and be like, wow, this is the way a company should be? They're all working as a collective, good people, great mission. Or are they supposed to be like this San Francisco, wow, they've got no idea. They're so detached from reality. They pay people double. They've got no concept of quality. Or are we supposed to like them or not like them? They've kept themselves very neutral, but that's not what I want. I want to know if I should be rooting for them or rooting against them. And I don't get that yet.
I think that's actually quite intelligent, and I think you're absolutely right. They're in the gray zone at the moment.
Yeah.
We don't know if we want to root for them, root against them, and I think they're doing that on purpose because I think they're holding back something that will either make us absolutely love them or, in my opinion, most likely hate them. We don't know why Helios is going up into space. We know that they're a profit-driven company. How are they going to make a profit by going to Mars? We have no idea. But they're clearly going to do something, right? Otherwise, why are they spending all these billions and billions of dollars to do it? And I think that whatever that reveal is going to be nasty and it's going to be negative, and we're going to turn out to hate them, even though we love the people who they're hiring.
Do we love the people they're hiring?
Well, kind of. So when I say that, as in they're people we know. So with the exception of Ed, everyone else there, I'm kind of on the negative side of.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I love Karen.
So
I have to say I've gotten a little bit
Karen
negative.
Trajectory, I'm totally over now. Like, I don't get it. She's failed her way up. Fine. That happens all the time in the real world. That's absolutely fine. But for whatever reason, she's not happy ever. And and when she's not happy, she seems to make like these potentially destructive choices. When, they're exploring the ship for the first time, when they're all up in space and exploring the ship with Ed and the leader, I can't remember his name. Yeah. And just before we get to see the Star Trek style command center, she sees a room and you can see this again, another look of ennui pass her face. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, woman? You started off as a housewife. You moved on to be a bar owner. You moved on to be a partner in a space hotel. Now you're like basically running the show on the operations side for the first like private intergalactic space company. Like, why can't you crack a smile? Why can't you be happy? And why are you like this? And then she's obviously not happy about the fact that Danny has now been involved in this. And the whole Danny thing, by the way, that's also A, super cliched, and B, also I'm not 100% on board with why they're doing the things they're doing with Danny. Well, he's not happy in his marriage. He's drinking. He's going out with like women that he's picking up at bars. He's trespassing. He gets kicked out the program by Danielle because of it. And again, academically, absolutely the right thing to do. But I think they're setting Danielle up to fail because she's too academic and too by the book. And I think they're setting up Ed to fail because he's too by the seat of his pants and not by the book enough. I don't know. It's just, that Helios thing seems a bit muddled at the moment, but I think that's on purpose. I don't think that's a narrative problem. I think that's actually them doing it on purpose because we don't know whether we need to like them or hate them yet.
Yeah. Do you want to like them or hate them? Which way do you...
I want to not like them. I want them to be the antagonists.
You want them to be kind of like WeWork.
Yeah. I want them to be the guys who turn out to be like the dark side. And I kind of secretly am hoping for a collaboration between Russia and the US. Not against them, but some kind, because that's why we have a three-way race, right? Eventually, two of them are going to have to work together.
If not all three, yeah.
If not all three. But at some point, at least two of them are going to have to work together. So, what's your opinion? Who do you think, of the three, who do you think is going to end up being partners? Because I think we're on that boat, right?
I have to say, I don't really have anyone I'm cheering for. Like Russia, and this isn't like a Russia-America thing right now, but like Russia's too nameless right now. We haven't been introduced to like any cosmonaut. It would have been nice if we would have met like a cosmonaut and kind of like had someone like, hey, like he seems like an okay guy, or she seems like a really strong lady. Like they're nameless intentionally. They're impossible to root for now because we don't have any name. Yeah. All we know is Sergey, who obviously is a bad apple.
What if we find out? I mean, we should have already found out. What if we find out later that the mission commander for the Russians is actually the guy that Danielle shook hands with in the Soyuz capsule?
Yeah.
And so everyone knows each other and they're friendly already.
Yeah, I could get behind that, I guess. I mean, I don't think I'd even remember him, but yeah, I could probably get behind that. So back to your question, I can't really cheer for or against Russia because they're too nameless, you know?
Right.
And I guess I'm probably a little bit biased against them because it seems like they're only launched because of Margo's treason, right? Or espionage.
Right.
In terms of Helios, like their leader Dev is not really that really that charismatic to me. If this would have been like a Don Cheadle that they would have brought in, who gave me like this really enthusiastic,
I really like him.
you know,
I want
like
him to succeed.
I would have been like, look at this guy, like he's really like smart and aggressive, and he's got like there were some things he said that were kind of okay, which is like, hey, we should be taking like poets and artists, and like Ed was kind of like puked all over that, but like the idea kind of would have been like okay, which is hey, we should be going to space for the creativity, not just to farm and grow plants and do like experiments. If Don Cheadle like character would have been leading this, Dev, I mean, maybe a good actor, but like I just didn't think he stood for anything, you know? Hey guys, let's vote on this. What do you think? Okay, that's my vote. You know, like he just didn't seem to stand for anything.
If you had him be a little bit more charismatic, like a Don Cheadle, then I think what happens is also the heel turn or the inevitable heel turn
would have been so much more dramatic,
palatable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because now it does seem a kind of like they're gonna go up and they're gonna like secretly mine something. It also would not be disbelievable if we found out that they were funded by, I'm making this up, China, right? And they've got like a Chinese payload, and that would have been that's a big heel turn if you find out where their funding kind of came from, and suddenly Ed is like, you know what, I'm going to walk over to the U.S. base. I'm going back over with Danielle. You know?
Yeah. It's actually great. That's fantastic because I think we discussed what would be interesting about season 3 is if they introduced a new nation, and in terms of a new nation, they didn't. They just introduced a private party.
Yeah.
But you're right. What if it is a third party, quote unquote, bad country? Yeah. And by bad, I mean antagonist to the US.
Yes.
Right? Where it's a Russia and they've kind of alluded to the fact that North Korea has some space program as well. What if it's North Korea? Mm-hmm. What if there's something where it becomes an easier heel turn? Because right now,
it's a US company. I mean, like, if they beat NASA there, would Ellen as president really be unhappy? She'd probably be
because she's just like, this is American ingenuity at its finest.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I'm with you.
I somehow want
Helios to justify. Yeah.
Yeah. I somehow want Helios to fail. I want Margo to go down. And in terms of Danielle, I want Danielle to be successful. I think somehow she's gonna save Ed's ass. But Danny, who I should be liking, that's Gordo's son. Yeah. I should be so sympathetic to him. He's got to still have this weird storyline with.
He lost it for me in this episode. Really, is that like he went off the rails in this episode because it's just like you've been selected for me. It was the prior. Mission.
For me, it was the prior episode.
Oh yeah, when he started creeping on Karen. Yeah.
And I wish it would.
It's going to set up this space battle between the two of them, which is totally unnecessary.
I totally agree. I really wish that, you know, him and Karen would have had like a moment like, you know, we did something. It was in the past. I'm really happy for you, you know, and he looks at her almost like a mentor, you know, and she's like, you know, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to get your act together, you've got to be good, you know, and he looks at her like really like kind of like a friend and a little more of an equal, and you find out that, you know, she's like a very good gives good guidance to him. I would have been happy with that relationship where there's something kind of like weird about their friendship, but knowing their history, it's kind of like sweet and understandable.
I would have also because now they're on the same mission, because they're going to be together for the next 2 years. Somehow it's obvious to me that because it's the easiest source of creating internal team drama.
And Kelly, yeah.
And well, so that's the thing is, so my thought was initially going to be that Danny was going to be on the NASA mission with Kelly.
Yeah.
I think that they were going to find out and that Kelly was going to have problems with Danny because he broke up their parents effectively.
Yeah.
And then the NASA ship is either in trouble or Ed's ship is in trouble. And then eventually they would have to save each other. And they would be hesitant to do so because they find out that that Danny slept with Karen and they broke up their relationship. But Ed has to overcome that and, still save his ass. But now it's going to be like, okay, they're going to have potentially a fist fight on their own ship. And then something's bad is going to happen to either his ship or to Kelly's ship. And then they're going to have to do some kind of mission to save each other, and that's fine.
There's going to be something I agree with you. I think there's going to be something also with the supplies. Because the supplies, remember, they've got to now launch these supplies around Venus, exactly slingshot it. And I feel like something's going to happen. I mean, we know how this is going to be. It's going to be a barter society, right? NASA's going to lose their supplies, and Helios is going to lose their something, and they're going to say, okay, well, we'll give you supplies in exchange for an engine. We'll give you shelter. You give us food. Kelly's going to find a way to grow some space cucumbers, right? Something will happen. Daniel or Ed's going to be like, hey, I can pilot this rover and maneuver it, because our autopilot's not working. Something's going to happen. I agree that they're going to have to collaborate.
Kelly thing, by the way, I'm with you again now. I'm not. Why is she there?
How can
they haven't laid enough groundwork for me to say that it's justified that they would choose Kelly.
Dude, I'm so sorry. Kelly, Cynthia Wu, I'm sure is an exceptionally talented person. She's giving me nothing in this role.
Yeah.
Nothing. And
I'm not getting it. I'm
not at all getting it. I really want someone who's she doesn't seem to be super, super bookish. She's not compelling to me in any way, and
the character growth between season 2 and 3 was so unexplained to me that I don't get it. She wanted to go to Annapolis, right? She wanted to go to the Navy, Naval Academy, or whatever. She wanted to go to the military academy, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then flash forward 10 years and she's working at McMurdo Station in Antarctica as a biologist. And then all of a sudden she's selected for the Mars mission. I get it that Ed would want to do that, but now that Ed's not there, how is it possible that Danielle and Margo would be okay with that? I don't get it. I just don't get it. They spent even 5 minutes explaining to us why she is worthy of that, where she's like, oh, I've done this research. I can help you do this. That would have been fine, but they didn't even do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, given Danielle and given Margo, I'm really surprised they chose her. It would have been better if she was the most qualified person and they passed her over and then she went to Ed and it's okay, Helios is hey, we just want a lot of big names. No one's qualified. Ed's not qualified. Danny's not qualified. Kelly's not qualified. But this is our 3-person crew, a has-been and, a drunk.
Well,
and put those 3 up there. All 3 of those are going to have drama then up the wazoo, right? Which is at least good television. And it's the NASA mission, which has, put Bird Dog back in there and that other girl who didn't want the gun, put those 3 back in with Danielle. And then obviously there's some problems and say, okay, wait a second. We need to put our heads together, right? Danny's this big athletic risk taker. He can go, put the hab together. And, Kelly does know how to grow, space tomatoes, so she can do that. And
Ed has the experience to explain or to strategize as to what needs to be done and when.
Yeah, like so that would have been okay. So I would have rather that you've got two crews. You've got this very, very advanced, like by the book Danielle's crew, right? And then you've got, Ed's kind of like, hey, we just wanted a big name and a bunch of like flashy, headlines.
Which makes sense because it's a private company and that's how you raise money, right? It's the first thing any of these retired politicians do is they go on the board of these companies, and that's exactly what this is the equivalent of. Yeah. So that's what I was kind of hoping would have happened to Ellen had she lost. Is that she joins the Helios company as the board of directors, or maybe even she goes back into space.
I think something's going to happen where Margo's got to go. I mean, I guess the easiest thing is Margo has to go. They reinstate Molly, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a shame we didn't see any of her in here. I was hoping that she would also be a part of the program with Helios.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if they're already picking up or trying to pick up everyone they can, like Bill and like Alita and everyone, why not also take Molly, who's got, a history of choosing good pilots and, and leading the training program? Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting there. So, I'm really excited where this is going. I mean, even though I'm not loving some of the secrets, if we're looking at problems of the show, we still are not developing new characters. If this is supposed to go 6 seasons, like you said, again,
7 seasons, yeah.
Ed, Karen, Ellen is minimized. Okay, I can see in the future she's got a bigger role. Margo, about to be minimized. Danielle, not a leading character. Gordo and Tracy are gone. Kelly and Alita, not really carrying the show, right?
Although Alita now is the space, she is the mission commander for NASA.
Yeah. And, there's no more Pam. There's no more, we've got Dev. I mean, there's no more Deke, right? I mean, we've lost a bunch of folks. We haven't gained a bunch of folks. Danny and Kelly are really the only people, and Dev are really the only people who have, and Kelly and Danny have just aged. They've just become mature, right? They're not really new. Same with Alita. She's gotten a bigger role. But again, we lost Deke. We lost Gordo and Tracy. Trace. Those are 3 big losses, right? There's no more Pam. There's no more, Larry was kind of like a small part, but I mean, we're losing people. We need to be adding somehow. That's my concern with the show, is that if we're going 3 more seasons, we can only have so many love triangles between Ed, Karen, Danny, right?
Yeah, you're right. And maybe
look what The Boys has done. The Boys has added, right? I mean, they added Victoria Newman. Victoria Newman's like a very big character now, right? They added Soldier Boy, right? Yeah. I mean, I think they need to bring in 1 or 2 more people. And this mission would have been a great opportunity, would have
been the perfect place to do it. And
Helios
even if it was on the Russian side, which, by the way, I think would add a lot more drama, is if we see more people on the Russian side that we empathize with. Yeah. Because, frankly speaking, we've had 2 seasons now where it was, the USA versus Russia. Yeah. How much more do you want to play into that? Yeah. It gets boring quick. Yeah. At some point, you're going to want to say, okay, now let's introduce a third element, which they have, but then they haven't really done enough with a compelling cast, let's say.
Well, what would have been cool with Kelly? I mean, Kelly, I think, is Vietnamese in this episode or in this show, right? If she would have been,
what if she's a sleeper agent?
I was going to say, if she was Chinese, and if the China had a program, what if they would have said, hey, you're a Chinese national, come be an astronaut for us. Yeah. Right? And she says, I'm going to go represent my heritage. And Ed's like, are you crazy? What are you doing?
We raised you, you're American, blah,
like
blah,
that,
blah.
That would have been, something more interesting,
Yeah. I'm really keen on first of all, let's be practical about this. I messaged you after you saw it as well.
Yeah.
I said it's a testament to the show that even though things have not panned out the way we thought it could have, and we gave like maybe 5 or 6 different scenarios, and they went a wholly different way, maybe a 7th or 8th scenario.
Yeah.
They've gone that way. It's still super exciting.
Yeah.
There are still curveballs in there, and that just shows you how good writing can really make a TV series.
I think the time lapsing has been exceptional, both in terms of how the characters look, changing their hair, and also like the very discreet ways that they've explained without putting like subtitles on the screen how, like I thought the elevator doors opening and closing was like so
with the
good.
Year just there as a thing. Oh,
I thought that was so good. Having the Clinton debate, just kind of showing how things have changed. I thought that's just like really exceptional.
Yeah, I love it. I really love it. Again, we've proffered maybe another 3-4 ideas of where they go into the future, and I'm sure the writers have maybe 5 or 6 more scenarios that we haven't even thought of.
Feel free to take our ideas.
All going to be good.
Feel free to take our ideas.
Yeah. I will say this is the one show I don't think they need us. There have been other shows where we've said, listen, we're ready to be your writers, but they've consistently done such a good job. Even though they come out of left field, I've been so happy with this show. I'm loving watching this show every Friday.
Indeed. It always says it's coming out on Thursday, but yet I think what they mean is the end of Thursday.
I think it's like Thursday at like 12:01 midnight, right?
Like they just want me to, I think they're doing it to drive people to Apple TV Plus in hopes that we watch Cha-Cha Real Smooth, or what's this other one, Loot, or whatever else they have.
Whatever else they're doing. Yeah. So speaking of which, I think that's a pretty good synopsis of what's been going on with For All Mankind. So speaking of which,
yes.
In terms of new shows, you are in the midst of watching Cha-Cha Real Smooth on Apple TV Plus.
Yep. New film.
I haven't. I've heard of it, but don't know anything about it. I will wait for you to tell me whether it's something I should watch or not.
I shall, and I shall tell our listeners.
As you rightly pointed out, Apple TV just released, I think, the first episode of a show called Loot, which is a sitcom starring Maya Rudolph. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very loosely related to or based on
Mackenzie Bezos.
Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Bezos story. Which is to say, it's, a multi-billion-dollar divorce settlement.
I hope she marries a man whose family name is Mackenzie, and she becomes Mackenzie Bezos Mackenzie, or Mackenzie. Right?
And then, they
used to have that segment, like back when David Letterman was a thing. He'd show like the weddings, and he'd show like the surnames of people that would get married.
Oh, right.
It'd always be like, the wedding of Rock Hard,
Although funnily enough, this is another tangent, but I read online that there was some guy named something Burger, and he got married to someone named Ashley King or something like that.
King Burger or Burger King?
Burger King, and exactly. Burger King actually apparently paid for the entire wedding. So I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but I want it to be true.
No, I want now that it's like in trend to give kids like surnames as first names. I'm just waiting for the day that there's someone gets married and their name is Mackenzie. All right.
Those are the new shows. And Umbrella Academy came out this week.
Oh yeah, I gotta watch that.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I will hopefully take a crack at it this weekend, but I am desperate to watch it. I am very much looking forward to it. Yeah. It is. I can tell you right now, based on seasons 1 and 2 alone, it's a must subscribe to Netflix.
Whoa.
That's how good I think the show
is. This is big praise. Big praise. If
fantastic.
Our listeners have not checked out our website to see our proprietary big screen and small screen scores, may I suggest you do this post haste. It is quite useful.
Indeed. And you'll get a list of shows that we've got to see in the future as well. All right, Ethan.
Pete, Let's wrap this one up. Let's start a new episode, shall we? Listeners, please join us for our next episode. Thank you for joining us. Films and Stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.